Stuff, how you been?
What up, word, everyone? I'm just kidding. I've been all right. Just dealing with life. So,
Yeah, dealing with life. Some major news dropped here recently.
mhm.
The specs for the now confirmed specs for the PS5, and of course I heard about this on Monday, and right then it was just a rumor. I mean, some of the specs were spot on or close, but
Mhm.
as far as I know, the leak that I heard is pretty much spot on. So, Steph, what will we be expecting from the PS5?
Well, let me help you fill in some of the gaps here. First of all, it was a rumor, but it has been confirmed. The exclusive was given to a news company by the name of Wired, and they interviewed a Sony representative, and got to go to Sony to preview the dev kit and to get the exclusive on some of the specs. And then they produced a article, which we will happily, by the way, for everyone who is interested, we'll happily give a link to it in the description below.
Oh yeah,
um, and this article goes over not all of the specs. It doesn't announce everything in a bag of chips. Just the most basic of things to expect so far. It's not a whole lot of details, but it is enough to get to get your feet wet.
uh
So let's start. The CPU,
huh.
basically the main processor of the console. They're going to continue running with AMD for their processor. It's going to be the third generation of Ryzen. So it's actually using the new generation technology from AMD's Ryzen product line that is actually coming out this summer. Hasn't been released yet. It's actually coming out this summer for desktop computers, and this is probably going to be a custom built one, if I had to guess, for the PS5. So that would explain why they don't plan to announce they don't plan to release the console this year.
Yeah, they're releasing it next year, but I mean, I kind of expected, at least something by 2020 because there's no
Hmm.
way they can announce, a console, you say, oh, this year and be out this year because that will be only like a 5 months span for developers to put out a game and expect it to do well. I mean, like 5 months to develop a game for a new console is kind of short.
It's not unheard of. People have actually been put through that kind of stress test before, and they've some have pulled it off. Most usually flop.
Yeah.
Now, to go into more detail about the processor, it will be an 8-core processor running the latest 7 nanometer Zen 2 microarchitecture. So, anyone who doesn't know what that is, Google it. Google is your
Yeah.
friend.
until it stabs you in the back.
If I were to try to describe it right now, I'd be wasting everyone's time for about another 15 minutes. So,
or longer.
as much as I know about it, trust me, Google is your friend. So just let's move on.
Yeah.
For the graphics card, everyone. Here's the thing. I'm surprised they're not going with NVIDIA, but I mean, hey, it is going to be a custom built card based off of AMD's Radeon Navi family. So I'm excited for this. And what's even more so is that the specs for this custom card state that this card can technically output 8K resolution on paper.
Uh-huh.
Now, whether or not it can actually handle 8K resolution effectively is an entirely different matter. But needless to say, if it can just render 8K resolution, whether it's good at it or not, the fact that it can render it and then mention it in the article, that means it's going to do 4K hands down.
Yeah, because some people might, like myself, when I heard about it, I'm like, is it going to be strictly 4K, or is it just going to upscale to 8K when it's available? Because I still got 1080p TV, and yeah, I don't think I need 4K or 8K TV.
Now, the thing is, I think it probably, with those specs, it probably will be future-proof to 8K, but only by upscaling, not really like truly rendering in 8K.
Yeah,
But it should be able to fully, truly render in 4K, though.
yeah. Sometimes upscale can be good, and sometimes it can be like hilariously horrible.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why I don't like having a low res, if a game is meant to be played in 1080p and you have a 1080p TV, then it works okay. But if you have a 720p TV, which I had at one time, and it goes to the 1080p, well, you're only playing the 780p, you only get a 720p graphics. God,
Right.
I hate these technical terms, especially when they sound too similar.
Yeah, I know. Tongue twisters abound.
Oh yeah.
Anyhow, moving on. So, the graphics card will be capable, surprisingly, of ray tracing. Ray tracing is a new technology for the consumer base platform. It is a technology that has actually been widely available in the prosumer and movie making industry. And what it does is basically anyone who's heard of physics, where it allows high computations to be run to allow an item to move in a more realistic manner. Well, this is the same thing, only for lighting effects. Ray tracing allows for drastically more realistic light reflections, light bouncing, light shadows, like way higher, more accurate lighting effects than what you would normally experience. These are lighting effects that are almost true to life of what they would normally be in real life. So it's not surprising that for the past 5-10 years, ray tracing has been used in the Hollywood industries for rendering lighting effects in their movies. So ray tracing is a big deal, and it hasn't been up until recently that, really recently, that ray tracing has been made available on consumer cards. So this is going to be a step up.
Yeah, when I was being explained for that, I was watching Review Tech USA. I kind of understand where it was, that ray tracing technology stuff. So I kind of, okay, so they're going to have they have the software to make light look more natural, more beautiful and such. But just kind of wondering, would that also what kind of effect they'll have on the shadows effects? Because that's also been a big thing that's been popping up, is how they, oh, look how beautiful the shadows can be. I'm like, yay, shadowing that. Wow.
Oh my gosh, the shadow actually looks dark.
and it's moving with me. It's mimicking my movements. Yay.
Hey kids, let's play a new game.
Yeah, it's nice to have. From the way it sounds, I think I'm on board with this technology so far.
Mm-hmm. Well, like I said, the technology is nothing new, at least not to the Hollywood industry. But for new consumers, NVIDIA, for example, already has a ray tracing demo for cards that support it. They already have a demo that you can download. I don't know what the size is, but it's probably a considerate amount. It's a Star Wars demo where you will get a true example for cards that support ray tracing of what ray tracing can potentially look like in games. And it is really amazing. I have not particularly experienced it yet, but that's only because I only have a 1070 and it doesn't support ray tracing. Sad me.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, like, it's nice to actually see this technology, be implemented because, I mean, when they put new stuff in, like, are they just doing it because they can or what? Because, I mean, like, I've always questioned, how, why put, additional technology in it, but I mean, like, I could go back to what my complaints about the PS3 was, other than the price, because we all remember how high that price was.
Oh, don't we all? The fat PS3, brand new, like $699. You say what? What did you say? What price was that? Oh my God, my wallet isn't ready.
Oh yeah. I mean, like, but when I was it has Blu-ray technology, it had this and that. I mean, like, okay, how strong of a Blu-ray player we're going to get? Is it really going to be worth the price? If I remember right, it had Bluetooth in it, right?
I think so.
Yeah, I think so because I mean, like, there's been so many new technologies since the last decade that I'm not falling behind, but
we've made more progress in the last decade with technology than we have in the past 900 years.
Oh yeah, but yeah. I mean, like, yeah, I could probably see why they're putting this new technology in, but right now I'm skeptic because is it just going to be a gimmick, or is it going to be something that we all want in future games? But until I see it in action, I can't really say much about it.
Yeah. Anyhow, I mean, I can agree with that. It's just, like I said, these specs are confirmed, but we really don't know what they are truly going to mean until we start seeing some demos of games out for the new system.
Yeah.
Anyhow.
Yeah, I mean, like, until we start seeing some gameplay and some how it will act in demos and especially at E3 maybe next year, hopefully, but who knows?
But anyhow, moving on.
Yeah,
so
let's move on.
For something surprisingly on the list of changes is the audio quality. They are enhancing the audio quality using the ray tracing technology. Now, don't ask me how this works because I'm not sure how ray tracing is supposed to improve the audio quality, but they say it does. So I'm just going to take them on their word for it. But apparently, with this enhancement, you will get much higher clarity. You will get virtual surround sound support. And on top of that, we'll be able to enhance games like with headsets. You'll be able to hear people's footsteps from afar, or tune it to where you just really huge clarity for your surroundings. And like I said, I'm not going to pretend to be an expert because I have no idea what they're talking about. All I know is that I can hear things. I can hear them better now? Great! Yeah. That's all I need to know.
Yeah, that's all we need to know, that it has better audio, better, clarity. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, like, when I was starting hearing the audio specs, like, okay, that's a very big step up because, usually we like to hear somebody's footstep, like, 10 feet away when they're in the game.
Right.
So it could probably be more like you can hear a guy's feet coming from 20 feet or 30 feet.
I don't know how. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I'm just throwing numbers out there. So, I mean, like, if I can hear a guy coming from 30 feet away, that's good with me.
Now, I don't know how effective it's going to be when you've got a map that's like 3 miles wide and you've got a team of 4 and you're all spread out across this 3 mile wide and everyone can hear each other's footsteps.
Oh, yeah.
All running around, and you're like, where the hell are those footsteps? 2 miles that way. I mean, I don't know what ultra hearing you've got, but at the same time, for what general purpose does this serve? I don't need to hear the footsteps of my teammates if they're 2.5 miles away.
Oh yeah, I get that, but I mean, like I said, I want to see this in a demo, see how it will work, because I don't want to
Right.
make this overhyped.
Mm-hmm. Now they did say that on the audio chip, it supports a 3D audio, is what they said.
Uh-huh.
So I guess that means surround sound. Not 100% certain, but we'll see.
Yeah, because I don't know, like 3D audio. Is it like, similar like 3D visuals or something?
Yeah, it's something like that. Whatever it is, it's no longer 2 dimensions like stereo.
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of guessing what they're saying with the 3D audio. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
for sure myself, so who knows?
Yeah. Now, as for VR, they have confirmed that it will be compatible with all current PlayStation VR hardware. So that's a good thing, and that they have said that the VR will be a decent focus for them for the new console. So right now they don't have anything to announce other than it will be compatible with current VR hardware, but expect more VR upgrades later down the road.
Yeah, I tried VR a few times, and the PlayStation VR, and I think, other than the watered down visuals, I think it was not overhyped, but just too soon, if you ask
Mm-hmm.
me. I remember this was like shortly before Resident Evil 7 came out. They announced that they were doing a tour of, place with PlayStation VR to kind of promote Resident Evil 7. I think it was, I believe Capcom was doing that because I don't think it was officially a PlayStation
Mm-hmm.
deal. And I tried it, and I enjoyed it, but at times I still feel like I was just looking at a screen. But when I like slightly tilt my head or turn it out, oh, I'm actually in the game. You forget that I forgot that half the time.
Mm-hmm.
So the PlayStation VR to me wasn't a deal breaker with me, but I think it just came out too soon. That's my only problem against the PlayStation VR.
Well, you will be happy to know that they are looking into higher resolutions for the VR. From what I know, the reason why you still get that only half immersion, it has to do with the resolution and how fine details they can squeeze into the pixels that are on the actual display screen of the headset.
Yeah,
And that is going to be drastically improved with the next generation of PlayStation VR. They've already rolled out they're already announced the next generation of the Oculus and HTC Vive. And those are drastically upping the resolution and clarity. So I haven't experienced them yet, but I have a feeling that it's going to be a lot more immersive. And the same could probably be said with the next generation of PlayStation VR. I'm just saying.
well, I've also did a VR deal at Microsoft Store,
Mm-hmm.
at a mall. I'm not going to say which one. And there's a really big difference between what Microsoft. I think they're doing the Hololens, if I remember right, what it's called.
No. What Microsoft has is a joint partnership with several different companies. It's called Windows Mixed Reality.
Yeah, I'm not. I've been so confused. There's so many VRs to so many
Mm-hmm.
properties, and it's hard to keep up with all of them. But I tried.
Yeah.
I tried the one
It,
that. Go ahead.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, like it's. I think there's a really big difference between what Microsoft did with their VR program and what Sony is trying to do. But
Mm-hmm.
like I said, Sony just came out too soon for the consoles.
Here's the thing. With Windows Mixed Reality, you have a choice of 4, maybe 5 different companies, all competing against each other for your. And so they're all around the same price point as the PlayStation VR, so around $400-$500.
Yeah.
Problem is that I don't know if that is really going to be compatible with the Xbox One. If it is, then that's news to me, and I am so happy for them. But if it's not, then as far as I know, the Windows Mixed Reality is only available on Windows operating systems for PC.
Yeah,
so
I mean, like, I do think that if Sony's going to step up the VR, features and specs, I think this is the perfect time to do it, because if Microsoft's going to do something with VR, and if Nintendo ever do something with VR,
they already have with the VR Labo product that they just released.
Yeah, I mean, I'm talking about like complete full-fledged.
Oh, right.
I mean, Labo was awkward for me to say how good of an idea that looked.
Well, I think the word awkward can pretty much describe Nintendo as a whole. So
yeah, they've always been that awkward company that we all laugh at times, but when we've tried the product, we tend to take our words back.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm looking at you, Wii U. Not Wii U, Nintendo Wii. Wii U, you were an actual failure.
Yeah, I'm looking at the Virtual Boy. Oh my God, that was a...
don't get me started on that. But anyhow, we're getting a little off track here.
Yeah. Let's get back to specs.
Okay, so will be compatible with current PlayStation VR hardware and future VR hardware. As for the storage, this was the game changer for me personally when I heard about this. I have been waiting for at least the past 3 years for someone to announce, actually the past 5 years, for someone to announce solid state drives as their primary storage for their console. So far, Microsoft hasn't done it. Nintendo hasn't done it. For what little consoles Sega had, they didn't do it, but and Sony hasn't done it until now. The PlayStation 5 will support a custom-built solid-state drive as the primary source for internal storage, and this is going to be insane because anyone who doesn't know, solid states don't have a magnetic disc, which we call a platter, spinning around with a little magnetic reader trying to read the disk speed, and so you have to rely on the RPMs of how fast it spins around to get your speeds of read and write, which causes delay. Solid states don't do that. They rely on storage by a chip, kind of very much the same way as a flash drive. So the speed is virtually instantaneous. So now to demonstrate, in the article, he did describe a demonstration that the Sony rep did put on for him, and what he had was 2 setups side by side, same TV and everything. The only thing that changed was the system. On the left, you had a PS4 Pro, and on the right, you had a PS5 dev kit with the custom solid-state drive. Both were running the latest 2018 PlayStation 4 exclusive game, Spider-Man. On the Pro, he pressed the button on the controller that brought up fast travel and fast traveled to a location on the map. Okay? From the point he pressed the button to the point where the fast travel was complete, there was 15 seconds that had elapsed. Now, he did the same thing on the PS5, and well, it wasn't 15 seconds that went by. It was 0.8 seconds, not even a full second that went past before he was already at the other side of the fast travel.
Oh, this is probably the biggest jump that I have ever heard a console ever done.
This is going to bring virtually instantaneous load times from that you would normally get the benefit from on cartridges to the CD medium. And this is going to be really, really nice. Because now they also said that the bandwidth on the solid state, the custom solid state for the PS5 will have a higher bandwidth than any currently available solid state drive for PC. Now that was directly from the horse's mouth. Now I don't know what to make of this as of yet,
Uh-huh.
but we will see. That's all I'm going to say is we will see.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, uh, from 15 seconds to 0.8 seconds, that's a huge jump for a loading time
Mm-hmm.
to be cut. I mean, I remember. I remember like shaving like maybe like 5 to 10 seconds off was a whole lot better, but shaving off, uh, like almost like 14 full seconds and
Mm-hmm.
change off of the loading time. That's I am just impressed with the way that they're
Mm-hmm.
building this console. I mean, like I am just
All I can
impressed.
say is, if it's going to be compatible with the same, no, that's a spoiler for the next topic that's
Yeah,
upcoming. Which, by the way, happens to be the next category. So let's move on to that real quick.
yeah. Let's move to the
So,
drive.
okay. So for drives, this will be a physical disc-based console. It's not going to be It's not going to be download only like rumored. It will have a disc drive. So that means it will have a Blu-ray drive. Whether that's going to be a 4K Blu-ray drive or not still has not been confirmed. Most likely it will, in my humble opinion, but like I said, they have not confirmed details. That'll probably be at a later
Uh-huh.
date.
Yeah.
Now, why is this good that it has a physical drive? Because of the next piece of information. They have
Uh-huh.
confirmed that the PS5 will be backward compatible with PS4 games.
Yeah, that's probably one of the biggest selling points that they have to have because backward compatibility should always be mandatory on all consoles.
Well, I don't want to say mandatory, but it should definitely be one of the main focuses on the forefront of its features because I mean, look at what happened with the PS4. It could have outsold everything on the market and then some had it been backward compatible with the PS3. But it
Yeah.
didn't. It was only barely ahead.
Yeah, I mean like I think like I don't mind having backwards compatibility on some of my consoles because that's like one less console I gotta have hooked up.
Mhm.
But still, not every single game will be backwards compatible or available for digital for whatever reasons. I mean, like you and I talked
Mhm.
about that one time, but that's a whole nother discussion. But yeah, I kind of see what they're trying to do with this. Have actually physical drive in the console because that should always be a plus in some on some consoles.
Now, Microsoft has supported backward compatibility since the 360. The 360, they had backwards compatible right off the bat with only a select few original Xbox games. And then, whenever they came out with the Xbox One, uh, they didn't plan for backwards compatibility with Xbox 360s until about after a year or two of in its run. But then, after 360 compatibility was added, they added more recently original Xbox compatibility. And granted, these are still
Uh-huh.
only on a game by game basis, and not every game is officially released, and there's only a handful of original Xbox titles available,
Which is
but they're
true.
releasing more and more every month. And so, I mean, this is truly remarkable that Microsoft at least understands that backward compatibility should be a main focus for their consoles. And I'm happy to announce to see that PlayStation is integrating some of that into. Now, there's still one thing that I. Oh, do you have anything to say before I continue?
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, I want to say that a majority of Xbox games, well, at least on the original, from
Mm-hmm.
when they were going from Xbox to Xbox 360, I think they mostly and this is how I think. I think originally they only focuses on the first title game, the first party
Yep.
games. Then eventually
Mostly.
then they eventually start with the third party games,
Hmm.
which I kind of find a little hypocritical. But now Fable 2 and 3 are now backwards compatible on the Xbox One, and those games been out for a very long time, which are classic games, which everyone should play.
Well, you must understand there is a trick to backwards compatibility, and that has to do with the licensing.
Yeah, the
They have to
licensing.
reacquire the licensing and permission from those who hold the license to re-release those games on the newer systems, since the original licensing clause for the original system was only for that system and not newer technology. So they have to reacquire the licenses, and it's only for games that they can at the time that get released. So it's
Yeah,
not entirely Microsoft's fault.
yeah. I mean, like the people who always complain about we want Unimusha on a PS3. I mean, like, yes, that game. Yes, Unimusha games are pretty decent. I mean, they're not like groundbreaking, but yet they were still good games. I highly recommend anyone who had ever played them should give them a try. But the reason why we don't see them on digital form because there's some legal issues, if I remember right, with some likenesses or something. I know there was some
Hmm.
kind of legal issue, but I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, I mean there are
Yeah.
probably licensing issues that they got to look at. But I think I think they should. I think people like us should be well received that we are actually finally getting some good games that are backwards compatible now.
True. Now, to state the what I was about out to say, but actually, well, I'm just going to say it. To further to further go into this topic of compatibility, there was back several months ago a patent filed by Sony for a backwards compatibility engine that basically was more around emulation.
Uh huh.
And what this would allow them to do is virtually or literally, in this case, you could take a PS1, 2, or 3 disc and insert it into the system. It would read the base code or whatever it is of the disc, not the game itself, but just what disc it is. And then it would download the game for
Uh
you in
huh.
many respects of how the Xbox One backward compatibility works.
Uh huh.
Only it will emulate the game. It
Ah.
will download the emulator, it will emulate the game, and it will allow you to basically play PlayStation 3, PlayStation 2, and PlayStation 1 on the new system. Now, whether or not they're going to implement it's not a rumor that they filed for the patent. That much is true.
Yeah, they usually do file
They
patents.
really did file for the patent. The problem is whether or not they're going to implement that technique into the PS5. So far, all we've heard is that it's going to be backward compatible with PS4.
Uh huh.
Now, if it's backward compatible with 3, 2, and 1 games, cat's out of the bag. I mean, that's going to be a true contender. I'm just
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah.
But
I,
so far, yeah, we don't know yet.
yeah. I mean, like sometimes companies will just file patents and we and don't use them on and years later yeah we forgot that we filed this patent like 5 years ago but we never used it. Oh well,
Mhm.
shame on us.
Right. Now, and for release window, this is the interesting thing. They
Oh
said
yeah.
that they have no plans for releasing the PlayStation 5 this year. Zero plans. Not even a notion of it. They don't even want to release it this year. They said at the earliest you could expect a 2020 release, maybe 2021. So, and that's more along the lines of me assuming. They never said 2020 or 2021 in the article. I'm just assuming that. But more than
Uh-huh.
likely, it's probably going to be in the next year or two when they release it. Because if they're not
Mhm.
planning on releasing it this year, it's probably going to be next year, or the year after, based off of what Microsoft and Nintendo are doing.
Yeah, I mean, usually they'll announce a console, then maybe about a year or two will give us a date within a year or two of its official confirmation or something. But I I'm I'm hoping maybe a 2020, but at the latest 2021, because I think that, and here's why I think 2021, it will actually give some of the developers a little more time with the development kits, and hopefully they can know what to do. They can figure out what they can and cannot do a little bit better, because if you give them only a year to mess with a new toy,
Hmm.
you're gonna have a decent game, but it could have been better if it was just delayed another year tops.
Right. Now the thing is, though, is to clarify, I what I meant by 2020 or 2021, or what I meant by not this year. I didn't mean like it wasn't going to be announced this year. What I meant was the console itself won't be released this year.
Yeah, because I figured, like I say, at least 2020 or 2021, because if
Hmm.
they announce a new console, well, how long have they had the developer kits out, and what and how hard is it to use those
Hmm.
kits is also going to be the problem. I mean, if all the big name developers, they have the best teams, and it felt like, oh, it's just like the old generation's development kit, but better, and we can figure out what we can and cannot do within a couple months, because it gives
Hmm.
us some time to play around with it. But if
Right.
you only give them like a year to mess with it, it cuts into the development time. If at least
True.
that's why I'm thinking, because I mean, if they had that extra year to develop with development, then we can have a
Now,
better game.
to clarify, they did say that this console has been in development for at least the past 4 years now.
Yeah, because by the time the consoles already released, they're already thinking about the next generation.
Right. Now, one thing to note, they did say we might hear something around E3, but at most it'll be just only a crumb of information. It's not going to be this whole big announcement. Now, they did to add on to this, they have already stated that Sony will not have a presence at the E3 floor at the physical event. But they might do what they've been doing now with their with with their what's that called,
They're
state of play, their new state of play
you're talking
announcements which
about
they made.
the Xbox
It's
experience.
no. Listen, what I'm talking about is the PlayStation's new state of play announcements system. That's basically a Sony Nintendo Direct, a Sony Direct.
Yeah.
Yeah, the thing is, here's the thing. Sony, like I said,
Uh-huh.
will not be at E3. They
True.
will not have a presence at the show floor.
True.
Now, that isn't to say that they won't have some kind of announcement with their new state of play announcement system.
Uh-huh.
And if they do that, then it'll be an online video only.
Yeah, because that's why if they're not going to be at 3, they're gonna have to release the information somehow. So if they're
Mm-hmm.
going to get their stay
Oh, for
up,
sure. For
if
sure.
they release it that way, then I think it drives the hype up a little bit more.
I don't know if it drives up the hype a little bit more, but I will definitely say that at least it's easier to get out the information rather than having to stream it amongst with a limited amount of time for everyone else.
Yeah, I
So,
mean, it'll probably give them a little more time to show the engine off
mhm,
and all the
yeah.
cool new features. Because I mean, like most E3 events, I mean, like
Mhm.
are are like 2 to 3 hours at times. It pretends like if you're like Microsoft, yeah, probably like 2 hours. But if you're like a little developer, you like to get maybe an hour and a half.
Well, here's the thing. Most little developers don't really get a real spot at E3.
True.
Usually it's only the big time companies that really do any kind of on stage presentation.
Yeah,
Um
Well, that's what I meant to say, but I've always
Right.
considered, the first parties like are always the big name things, but the third party developers are kind of like the little guys that we gotta watch the most.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean,
Now,
I have a weird categorizing of things, and I don't know why I do.
right. Now, here's the thing, though. Just to remind you, um, there may not be any information released from Sony from this state of play video, because they're probably going to do a state of play video around E3 time. But what they said in the article was they may not. All they said was, and this is literally a quote from them, and I quote, "Don't expect much around E3." So, if they release anything at all, it's just going to be small bits of information, nothing major. But they may not release anything at all for the PlayStation 5 and information at all. So we don't know. All we know is that if they release anything, it's not going to be much.
Yeah, I mean, they probably just release, something. I mean, like a teaser of all the games that maybe are heading to the system. I mean, we just don't know because, I mean, I'm speculating right now. I mean, Death Stranding is probably on PS5. Cyberpunk 2077 is going to be on PS5. I'm almost guaranteed the next Grand Theft Auto game is going to be on the PS5. I mean, like, there's probably going to be other games that we do not know about that will be on the PS5. I mean, I bet stuff like that will make us go, wow.
Oh yeah, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I mean, this is just my theory, that's opinion, what we may expect, but knowing Sony, they've been known to pull some really weird stunts, especially when they're out of the blue.
Right.
I mean, like, what they did with Resident Evil last year at E3. So I mean, like, we were expecting something, but we didn't know it was going to be official or not. So until that trailer hit, man.
Yeah, I hear you. I do. Now, trying to remember, was there anything else that happened beyond the PlayStation? Do you remember? I'm kind of having a brain fart here.
Yeah, I mean, there hasn't been much going on. I mean, I've been, just watching a lot of internet videos on a few things I've been keeping my eyes on, but other than that, nothing really that's been popping out. I mean, I've been paying attention to what's been going on with one lawsuit and that deals with a comic book legend and a indie comic book developer. So that's, from what I've been hearing, the comic book legend may be getting his ass raped by the judge because of his stupidity.
Oh, oh boy.
I mean, it's just stupid of him. So it's just stupid people doing stupid stuff. So yeah, I mean, like, I mean, there hasn't been really anything too much going on. I mean, like, it seems like, I mean, other than that, I went to see Shazam last weekend.
Oh, good. Now, real quickly, I want to talk about the Nintendo Labo, since apparently a lot of people have been talking about that. They finally got their kits, and they've been playing around with it. One of the things that I've heard after watching a lot of videos about it is that the initial setup time for the Labo, if you've got just the basic one, which comes with the headset itself, and the bazooka gun. Well, first of all, to give you an example, the headset itself takes about 50 minutes to set up, and the bazooka gun takes almost 3 hours.
God, 3 hours to set up one little prop?
So if you put that all together, you're looking at over almost 4 hours of setup just to construct all that stuff, and then you get to play it. Now, they already said that if you try to set if you buy the deluxe edition, which is basically the $80 version that comes with all the VR accessories, they said in total to set all of them up back to back, it will take you anywhere from 7 to 9 hours to set it all up.
Oh, jeez.
I'm not kidding here. That is a lot of time to devote to try and piece these little cardboard things together.
You know, when I will be honest, when I first saw that level thing, I'm like, okay, I see where Nintendo is going, but it just, I mean, like, how long would it take to set up just one of them? And you're telling me if it takes 3 hours just to set up one little,
Actually, I'm sorry. I just want to jump in here for a second. I'm sorry. I was wrong. It's worse than that. To set up the deluxe setup, it takes anywhere from 7 to 12 hours. I'm sorry. I misspoke.
7 to 12 hours? My goodness.
I'm not kidding. A full half a day.
Oh, God. Great. Jeez. Yeah. I wonder how many comic books I can read in 12 hours if I wanted to.
Yeah, that's depending upon how many restroom breaks you want to take.
And how many meal breaks you want to take.
Oh, God, let's not forget the actual breaks themselves. Just how many meal breaks, how many distraction breaks, how many family breaks, how many car run breaks, how many grocery store breaks, how many errand breaks. I mean, how much... all the breaks.
Good thing I didn't decide to buy that or the Switch.
Well, here's the thing. Buying the VR, from what I've been hearing, it's actually a very pleasant experience. The problem is that the novelty wears off after about a day or two worth of playing around with them. Now, they did say that inside the VR system is a set of mini games and a custom VR game creator is inside the cartridge as well, where you can basically edit functions and stuff and create your own mini games. Now, the real sad part about this is that the editor is done in a way that it could easily be seen that they could have taken this a step further and allowed you to create and upload your own stuff to the cloud and allow you to basically download other people's creations.
Oh, that's interesting.
That would have been amazing. The problem is they didn't do it. They didn't do it.
Why did you not do it, Nintendo? You had an opportunity.
It was a grand opportunity. They could have done exactly what they did with Super Mario Maker and Mario Maker 2 here, but they didn't. And it's one of the highest highlights of complaints I've been hearing from people who experienced this.
Yeah, I mean, it just amazes me they had a good idea that they didn't use in a game, and yet when people found out about that good idea, they want the idea that they didn't use in the game.
I know, but that's not to say that they don't add that functionality later on. Let's not forget what they did with Smash. A lot of people complained at launch that Smash didn't have home run contest or a stage creator, and look at us now. Just about a month ago, they announced that those features are coming as free DLC.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not out of the blue that they might that they won't add. It's not completely out of the question that they won't add it later down the road.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder what Reggie Fils-Aimé was thinking when he was, I'm not sure if he cut that, those features up.
I'm not even sure Reggie had a part in Labo VR, because remember, he retired before the Labo VR was announced.
No, that's right. He retired recently. Yeah. I've always seen the blame mistakes on him for some odd reason. Why blame mistakes on him?
You know why you blame mistakes on him? Because he was the icon, the head, the big honcho, the Rose, the tie that he was the figurine that was Nintendo. Okay.
Oh yeah, yeah.
He was basically the spitting image of Nintendo for the longest time in America.
Oh yeah. I mean, like I couldn't blame Iwata or anything. I mean, that guy had, the guts to admit that he made a mistake, and and like I feel like I always attack Reggie because he doesn't own up to his mistakes. So I feel like,
well, that's not entirely true. He does own up to some of his mistakes. It's just not very apparent.
Yeah, I mean, I think he. I mean, like I first respected him. Like, this guy could change, Nintendo, and make it, make him a real threat to, Sony and Microsoft. But the last, 5-6 years, especially during the Wii U days,
yeah,
that was just a disaster.
But keep in mind, that was not Reggie's fault.
I know.
Reggie's only job there was to sell the thing. Yeah. He had nothing to do with its development, which is really sad, since they probably could have benefited from Reggie's big banhammer. No.
Yeah, I mean,
Reggie banhammer. I mean, seriously, he would have been like, "Oh hell no! I ain't greenlighting this."
Yeah, I mean, like, I think, I think my opinion on Reggie has changed a little bit over the years. I mean, like, yeah, you always blame the wrong guy for the mistakes, but I mean, like, out of all Nintendo, I mean, Iwata except for a few other people in Japan, Iwata and Reggie were like the two main guys that we ever heard, talked about, because they were like the face of Nintendo at times.
Well, here's the thing. What we Americans half the time fail to realize is that, you see, we're very susceptible to what I would like to call the speaker in sheep's clothing.
Yeah.
But what I'm talking about is, you see, whenever something news information is announced, you keep thinking that the announcer is the one who's responsible for the action, when actually it's something else, and the announcer is just the messenger.
Yeah, I mean, like I try to apply that rule with like voice actors. Like, they're not responsible for the dialogue that's written. They're just the talent. I mean, like, I sometimes forgive the voice actors who say weird stuff, especially when it's a very iconic line, like, "Here, Jill, you should take this life pick since you're the master of lonking, or you're almost a Jill sandwich." yeah. That like can't be stuff like that. When it's translated from one language to another, there is a bit of a severe mistranslation, but you can only blame the writer, not the talent.
Well, here in this case, even though Reggie Fils-Aimé was the big guy in charge of announcing all this stuff, it's actually two pieces of sheep's clothing here, not just one. First of all, Reggie was the head of Nintendo, but he was not the one head of America's division, but he was not the one in charge of the products that released in America, nor was he in charge of the products development at all, because the products released in America, that fell to the people below him in the American division. And as for designing the products, that had nothing to do with America at all. That had to do with Nintendo of Japan.
Yeah, I mean, like,
and we failed to one real quick thing.
Okay.
What we fail to realize half the time is that American divisions of Japanese companies usually have not that much input into the development of newer products.
Yeah, I mean,
usually we will give them information like about, here's the state of the market here, and here's what you might consider. But whether they take that information to heart or not is completely up to them, because Nintendo of Japan is the sole creator of all this hardware.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm surprised that a majority of companies in Japan are not bound to our level of stupidity that's going on right now. I mean, like this could be another video at another time, but I am happy to hear Japanese developers are not bowed down to America's stupidity, especially in our current climate
What do you
right
mean
now.
by America's stupidity?
Like, oh, this, I mean, like the DOA situation with the girls being too clothed or they're wearing not enough clothes, stuff
Oh,
like,
you're talking about the criticism, the
yeah,
cultural differences.
yeah, the cultural differences.
Well, here's the thing. That is a ongoing topic that is very real in recent years
I
because
know.
of a lot of especially with Nintendo and Sony games.
Oh yeah.
Uh, because what's socially acceptable in Japan and other countries may
Uh-huh.
not be acceptable in America.
Oh yeah,
And
that's
that's
true.
just something that they have to account for. Now,
Hmm.
granted, that has been eased up quite a bit in the past 5 years, but that's still not to say that it doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I try to accept the game in its purest form. I mean, like, I don't care how the women are drawn or clothed. I mean, I just want to know, is this person an interesting character? What? I mean, like, and
Hmm.
same thing with the guys. I don't care how jacked up they are. The only thing I ask is this character interesting, and would I like this character by the time I get done playing the game? And most of the time, I enjoy the character, whether it's male or female. I think it's a very good way to have a good character, other than have her designed a
You
certain way.
you cut out there in the last 10 seconds.
Well, I was just saying, I'd rather have a good developed character rather than how they're portrayed, pretty much, like, or drawn, or however you want to say these. I
Right.
mean,
My opinion on that is as long as whatever they're doing with the characters or the look or whatever, skimpy clothings, what have you, whatever they're doing,
uh-huh.
as long as it has a purpose with the game, as
Hmm.
long as the game is better for it with than without it, I'm fine with it.
Oh
But if
yeah.
it's there for no reason or it has no improvement of the game, then I'm like, why is it there?
Oh yeah. I mean, I've just been sick and tired of these, political correctness that's going on in this country. I mean, like, I just want to enjoy a good medium, whether it's TV, anime, comic books, games,
Hmm.
movies, whatever. I want to escape the real world for hours and enjoy a medium. I don't care what it is. And it's just ridiculous that the little pansies that we got here in the states are complaining that a Japanese creator isn't bound down to their needs. I mean,
Yeah.
we can go on and on, but I just want to end up like that because I mean, like, yes,
Yeah.
I try my best to not hate the creator. The only thing I care about is the character that they create. Are they good?
Okay. Now, for any developers who are listening to this to our conversation today, note
Uh,
that what we've just now said is very true, but take it with a grain of salt. But one thing to not take it with a grain of salt is controls. You have bad controls, and I will personally run you down. Oh my God, I cannot stand games that hype me up with with very great gameplay and all this other stuff and great, and then I start playing it, and the controls are so flunky that I can't even get around my own input. I'm like, come on, I can't play your game if the controls are crap. So don't do not. I repeat, do not give me bad controls. I hate games that give me bad controls. I don't care if you've got nude girls in there that will, do whatever. Okay, look, if you've got bad controls, it's not going to matter what you put in the game. I ain't going to play.
Oh yeah, I mean, like, I just wonder if people blame bad controls for that. What's that new game from Software? Second Day.
I don't remember.
It's Shadow Dice Twice.
Oh, I do not remember that one.
Well, it recently came out, and we're going to talk about that game another time because let's just say I've been hearing some interesting articles, both good and bad, and it's mostly about the difficulty.
Right.
Yeah,
yeah, it's called Sekiro Shadows Die Twice.
Yeah, Sekiro. Yeah, I knew it. I knew it started with an S and Shadow died twice, but yeah.
Yeah. But anyhow, that's pretty much all the time we have for today. So
yeah, yeah. We talked a little bit more about. I mean, we could have just stopped it after our Nintendo wrap, but we just had to go on into another thing.
Hey, you know what we try to do? Talk more. No. I had something. I had it. I lost it. Damn it! I lost it. I had something and I lost it.
Are you face palming your head right now? Because I hear something like
I'm not face palming. I'm palming.
Okay, because it's
whatever that means.
Well, I heard a clap, so I was wondering, are you hitting your head against your head or something? Because I heard something.
Okay, fine. Let's see if you hear this. That's me banging my head against the table. Ow. It's like the pain was a delayed reaction. I didn't feel it, but now it really hurts. But anyhow, we do need to end this. So.
Yeah, I mean, we should have ended after we talked about Nintendo, but we just ranted on like two crazy idiots.
Hey, when there's something to talk about, we always gotta talk.
Oh yeah, I mean, like, so one last quick question: expectation on the PlayStation 5. Are you hyped or optimistic right by now?
Well, the biggest real quick, the biggest requirement that I was waiting for was whether or not it was going to be backward compatible with the PS4. Will it replace my PS4? And the fact that it will, now I'm hyped. I am really hyped for this because now that it will replace my PS4, I want it to be as big and granddaddy as possible because that will be the console that I will be trading in my PS4 for.
Okay, and for me right now, I'm optimistic because I want to know how much storage are we going to get because knowing how big some of my Xbox One games are and how big the patches can be, some of them are bigger than the actual game. I'm like, yeah. I better hear at least 2 terabytes. That's
well, to be perfectly fair, the console that started it all with this 4K texture problem was the Xbox One X, and that was the console that whenever you downloaded a game, you were forcibly required to download the 4K textures along with it, turning what would probably have been like a 30 to 60 gig game into a 120, 140 gig game.
Oh yeah.
So now here's the thing, I would say with a 1 terabyte drive, and then offer a 2 terabyte or 4 terabyte down the road model later. The reason why I say that is because even though that there are 2 terabyte drives out there already being advertised for consoles, keep in mind those are platter drives. Those are regular hard drives. Solid states are way more expensive than normal hard drives. So we barely just reached the 1 and 2 terabyte limit. 1 terabyte for normal consumer and 2 terabytes for prosumer in terms of affordability.
Yeah, so, I kind of agree on that.
So depending upon where the market stands at that time, they could maybe only afford to put a 1 terabyte in there just to be able to keep the price low. Because you got to keep in mind, we still have yet to hear anything on price.
I've been hearing it could be 600 tops, but if it does go to a 2 terapack or bigger, I may need to get out a loan just to get a
keep in mind, that part is rumor. That part is rumor and estimates, but is not fact. We don't know what they're going to announce for price, and until we know an idea, we really don't have the authority to start shooting numbers around.
Well, I'm just saying, if it's like, if I probably say this: if people are willing to pay $600 for the PS5, go out and do it. But if it's like, $550, that's probably the tops right now, but who knows?
Here's the thing. I'll dig in. I'll dive into this what if stuff for just a brief second.
Okay.
My personal opinion is that it's not going to cap over 500. I think they've learned their lesson from the fat PS3 days where there was a $600 console. I think that it's going to be somewhere between $400 and $500 at most. And if it's any more than that, then I'll be happy to eat my own words. But that's just my prediction.
I try to not. Like I say right now, I'm not going to. I'm just throwing numbers out there. But if it is like that of the PS3 price when it was announced at E3 and whatever year that was, I would be probably lightly shocked, but not too surprised.
Right.
But I think right now I'm going to be on the optimistic side of this debate because I do want to see how big of a storage drive we're going to get, and as well as the price. And right now, if it is going to be between, let's say, $400 to $600, because that's about where we think it is, where we think it is, but I do think it may be closer to 600, but I could be wrong. I'll admit when I'm wrong. I will make a promise I'll make a promise right here, right now. If it's under $600, if it's like, let's say it's more towards the 400, like 450 range, I will say I was wrong at the $600 price tag. I will admit that I'm wrong. I will do that.
True. Now, real quick before we wrap this up, let's go over what has not been announced.
Okay, that's a good idea.
That is, so far we have not heard anything about the network card. What kind of wired or wireless capability it has. We have not heard anything about the design for the controllers and what features that's going to have built in.
Yeah.
We have not heard anything about if it's going to have the next generation of Bluetooth. Nor have we had anything announced as to what kind of disk drive. We know it has a disk drive, but we don't know if it's going to be a 4K disk drive compatible.
I agree.
There are several things to discuss, and what we also don't know is whether or not it's going to use a simple cable for the power supply, or if it's going to use a brick like what older renditions of the PS3 and PS4 did. Is it going to use a power brick?
Oh yeah, I will say this about those. If it has a power brick, I will say this: that is just a waste of space because my 360 has a power brick, and yet it ain't small. It's the size of an actual brick, people.
Oh, and speaking of size, we have yet to know exactly the dimensions that the actual console will take up on your desk. So we don't know about that either.
I'm willing to bet this. Maybe not this year's E3, but next year E3 we'll probably see the actual console itself.
I will say even more so to that. I think that they're going to work on either late 2019 announcement or early 2020 announcement for the console itself.
So maybe Tokyo Game Show this year?
Probably. That would fit quite nicely into that prediction. So, yeah, probably. So that actually wouldn't surprise me.
So you're saying Tokyo Game Show this year. I'm saying E3 next year. I think that's probably a good hit and miss.
I'm saying anywhere from October 2019 to May of 2020 is probably the window in which they are going to most likely announce the PS5.
And the design, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I'm that's what I'm thinking right now. Because if they, excuse me, I mean, if they're gonna hold up on the design and release date, it'll definitely be no later than next year's E3.
Yeah. So, and they might announce it early. Just steal the thunder from Nintendo and Xbox.
Yeah, I mean, I will not be surprised if we hear no more news of the PS5 this year and start hearing stuff more next year, because I'm willing to bet on something like that, but who knows?
Yeah. And it could be that maybe it's just a sleeping giant biding its time until its big announcement that's going to blow everything away. I mean,
yeah, I'm gonna let this sleep.
Possible.
Hey, I'm gonna let this sleeping giant sleep because I don't want to piss it off.
It's not about pissing it off. It's about making sure that it actually has good content to come out with.
Yeah. I mean,
that all that sleep did anything.
Yeah, I mean, like, I rather, let that big, thick, scary thing sleep because you don't want to wake it up too early.
Right, because if you wake it up too early, its breakfast is gonna be, it's gonna be cheese and crackers instead of it being filet mignon.
Oh yeah. So that's our predictions and what we are going to expect.
Okay. Well, I think we pretty much covered everything. So, any final thoughts?
Other than I'm slightly hyped. I mean, from what I've heard, yes, but I'm still optimistic.
Yeah, I'm pretty much the same. Just looking out to see if I can find whatever little tidbit of information comes out, but mostly I'm just basically hyped.
Yeah, and two more things before we go. I'll make them quick. First off, I am. We're going to do this every other week, at least for now, and we're going to try to maybe after E3 do it every week. But for right now, we're just going to do it every other week. Yay!
Mm-hmm.
And kind of give you guys a little small update on my PC building project. I got every single part except for the graphics card and the motherboard. So I am super excited to build this thing finally, hopefully by the next couple of weeks.
Couple of weeks and not couple of decades, you mean?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I waited too long to build my first PC.
All right.
So.
Well, okay.
Well, I had fun to sell. Did you?
Yeah. It was a lot of fun. So.
Yeah. So, see you later.
All right. So, this is Stealth Bat.
And this is Dustin Germany signing out.
Later.